Yeah, it was quite extraordinary to hear the story of this this serum, this experimental therapy that was stored at sub-zero temperatures, being flown into Liberia expressly for the use of Dr. Brantley and Nancy Whiteball, as you just mentioned. What was particularly extraordinary, this is a medication apparently came in 3 vials. It needed to be thawed out, not by having heat administer it, but just naturally thawed out and then given to the patients. Originally, as we have been reporting, Dr. Brantley had said, let's give the medication to Nancy Whiteball first, saying that he was younger, more robust, that she would actually benefit from the treatment better. But at some point during that whole process, apparently his condition really took a turn for the worse. He started to develop labored breathing, really struggling. In fact, he, as a doctor himself, apparently told people close to the area that he thought he was going to die. And at that point, the medication was actually administered to him instead. What is even more extraordinary, again, and these are details that are just coming to us, is that between 20 minutes and 60 minutes after he was administered the medication, his condition sounds like nearly reversed, completely changed around. His breathing became regular. He had a significant rash over his body that started to go down, and he just improved really quickly. By the next morning, he even was able to take a shower before getting on the pre-planned medical evacuation jet ride back here to the United States. But we've been hearing so many stories back and forth about an experimental therapy. We got more details now on how this all transpired, and more details as well about what this therapy actually is.
In a remote African jungle, a small monkey is captured, bound for a pet store in America. The animal carries a deadly virus.
Now, I know that some of us have doubts about what we're about to do. We'd be less than human if we didn't. But the fate of the nation, perhaps the world, is in our hands. We cannot, we dare not refuse this burden. I'm confident that each of you will do his duty. God forgive us.
Your town is being quarantined.
We got 19 dead. You got 100 more infected. It's spreading like a brush fire.
What are you talking about?
If one of them's got it, then 10 of them have got it now. And if one of them gets out of Cedar Creek, we have a very interesting problem.
If that bug gets out of there, 260 million Americans will be dead or dying.
I'm leaving with the team in an hour.
From the heart of a small California town.
Damn it, Sam, I want to save these people same as you.
To the inner circle of power in Washington.
The most optimistic projection for the spread of the virus is this: 24 hours, 36 hours, 48 hours.
The greatest medical crisis of all time.
We can't stop it.
Begins.
Try to remain calm.
Many people are dying and are going to continue to die unless we find this monkey.
There will be panic the likes of which we have never seen.
He could have brought Ebola here. Minnesota widow on her husband. I'm going to read that again. He could have brought Ebola here. Minnesota widow, on her husband. Patrick Sawyer was supposed to be at his kid's birthday party in a few weeks, but he died of the virus before he could board a flight to Minneapolis. His wife on the epidemic's toll. Nigeria felt a chill from the hot zone when a 40-year-old man collapsed and died from the dreaded Ebola virus after flying there from Liberia. That hot zone chill now reaches America, with word that the same man was scheduled to fly to Minneapolis in time for an August 16th party celebrating the birthdays of 2 of his 3 young daughters. Patrick Sawyer was a naturalized U.S. citizen who worked for the finance ministry of his native Liberia and returned home to his wife and children in Coons Rapids, Minnesota whenever he could. He almost certainly would have boarded the flight to Minneapolis, and he remained at least outwardly healthy enough to not exhibit symptoms. One nightmare scenario would have been for him to go ahead with the birthday party for his daughters, and even though he was feeling a little fluish and maybe dish out cake and ice cream to his little girls before anybody imagined he might carry the deadly virus from the distant West Africa. He could have brought Ebola, his wife DeConte Sawyer told the Daily Beast on Tuesday. Patrick had been tending to a sick sister named Princess in Liberia and had not learned the exact nature of the illness until after she died. He knew she was sick and he kept caring for her, but he didn't know it was Ebola, DeConte said. It could have been malaria. He was still grieving when he texted his wife on July 18, but he gave no indication that he was feeling ill. DeConte would wonder if witnessing his sister's terrible death had left him unable to accept that he could suffer the same fate as a result of trying to aid her. I think he might have been in a state of denial, DeConte suggested. Patrick fell manifestly ill on July 20 during a 6-hour, 40-minute journey via flight on ASKY Airlines from Monrovia to Lome to Toga and to the Lagos, where he was scheduled to attend an economic development conference. He collapsed at the Lagos airport and was placed in isolation at First Consulate Hospital in Abdalene, a high-density neighborhood in the teeming city. After Patrick's death on July 25th, the hospital was evacuated and quarantined for a week to allow decontamination. The 44 people whom he was known to have had contact at the hospital, 38 health workers, and 6 lab techs either were isolated or monitored, depending on the exposure. Also being monitored are 15 people he encountered at the airport, reportedly including a Nigerian ambassador to Liberia. Nigerian officials were unable to check who might have been exposed on the ASKY flights, as the airline inexplicably had failed to provide passenger lists. ASKY did suspend all service to Liberia and to Sierra Leone, which also had reported numerous Ebola cases. In Minnesota, DeConte had no idea anything was amiss until she got a phone call on Friday informing her that her husband was dead. Just out of nowhere, out of the blue, she said, "I never thought Ebola would break down my front door, and that's what it did." She was faced with trying to explain to 5-year-old Eve and 4-year-old Maya why their father would not be at the party to mark the birthdays they both celebrated in August. "They can barely understand what's going on," DeConte said. "I told the girls he's looking down at them. They can talk to him now anytime they want." The youngest, Bella, had just turned 1 in March and likely will have no memory of her father. The thought of what all 3 girls had lost and what so many other children stand to lose because of this virus filled DeConte with an urgency to do something to fight it. "I feel like Ebola has declared war on me, and I'm ready to do it right back," she said. "You can only cry so much, and then you have to do something, because while you're crying, people are still dying." She consulted with friends on Facebook and formed Concerned Liberians Against Ebola. A posting on the page reads, "One way you could help is to call your relatives, friends, and anyone you know in Liberia to take this disease seriously. Quarantine anyone suspected of the disease. Stock up on medicines to treat simple malaria attacks to clear up any confusion." But DeConte wanted to do more. She and like-minded friends decided that any funds or supplies they could raise should go to the 2 organizations whose medical teams are bravely taking on Ebola in the hot zone, Samaritan's Purse and Global Health Ministries. Risking their lives, DeConte said of the 2 eminently worthy outfits, "They want to help, so we want to help them to do the work." Samaritan's Purse had established the Ebola Treatment Center, where an American physician, Dr. Ken Brantley, serves as medical director. Brantley came to Liberia with his wife and 2 children as a medical missionary seeking to do more dangerous than family medicine at the Eternal Love Winning African Hospital in Monrovia. He and his Elwa colleagues then began hearing talks in mid-March of an Ebola outbreak more than 100 miles away in Lofa, his hospital established in isolation until his facility chapter, and prayed it would not be needed, reports an Elwa blog. At first it seemed that the prayers had been answered. The outbreak subsided, experiencing a short lull, and for a time there was no new confirmed cases in Liberia. But at the end of May, the epidemic flared, and at this time it spread to Monrovia. Elwa got his first case on June 11th, and more soon followed. The hospital turned to Brantley, who is meticulous, cautious, and profoundly compassionate. As the epidemic began to unfold, Kent found himself in a very difficult circumstance. Dr. Donald McCrae, a longtime mentor and friend, later said during a press conference at John Peter Smith Hospital in Fort Worth, Texas, where Brantley completed his residency last year, he was asked to serve as the medical director of an isolation unit for Ebola. Brantley accepted. One small mercy was that his family returned to Texas on a pre-scheduled visit, sparing him from having to worry about infecting them. He and his team remained uncommonly careful, spending at least a half hour suiting up before venturing into Ebola isolation ward. Every centimeter of skin was covered. Gloves were doubled and taped to sleeves, but the hands were skilled. And Brantley's deep blue eyes were no less kind and caring behind plastic goggles. He would spend at least a half hour being decontaminated afterwards. Elsewhere in Liberia, entire hospitals emptied out, patients, doctors, and nurses all fleeing in fear of Ebola. The team at Brantley's facility kept it in day after day, often 4 hours at a time, and stupefying full-body suits before a break, followed by another 4 hours of watching the disease do its unimaginable worst despite all the best efforts. Terrified, Brantley said of himself to McCrae, "No images from combat zone depict greater courage than do photographs of Brantley and his team in the hot zone, tending a patient in the midst of a horrific suffering that they themselves were risking. Brantley is a man of deep faith, and he was proving himself to be a Christian such as Christ would cherish, someone practicing that greatest love. Any religion that values life would embrace this doctor's scriptures and action, his gospel goodness." Last week, Brantley began to feel ill, and like Patrick Sawyer's sister, he thought at first that he might be coming down with malaria. His symptoms developed on Wednesday with fever, headaches, abdominal pain, and have progressed, McCrae told the press conference in Texas on Monday. Brantley tested positive for Ebola, as did another American, Nancy Wright-Ball, who had been working with the contamination crew. He became a patient along with Wright-Ball in the ward and had been supervising. His prognosis was described as grave. "I'm praying frequently that God will help me survive this disease," Brantley said in an email to McCrae on Monday. "Please continue to pray along with me and pray for my friend Nancy, who is also very sick, and for the doctors who are taking care of us. Thank you all so much. Peace, Kent." How Brantley and Wright-Ball became infected remains a mystery. There's one theory that they were both exposed by Liberian workers in a contamination crew who fell ill. Another theory is that Brantley was exposed somewhere outside the hospital. Too many people who admire Brantley note that the facility rates of Ebola drops from 90% to 60% if it is caught early, as was apparently the case with the good doctor. Even so, that is less than an even chance at best. For Minnesota Decante Sawyer calls on all decent souls to support the brave medical team taking on a virus that is only a plane ride away from anywhere. "We all have to do work together to stop Ebola from continuing to kill people," Sawyer said, "and keep it from crossing the ocean." She will be holding a memorial for her husband in September, and there will be an event before then, one on August 16th, that she will not let Ebola stop. "We're going to have the birthday party," she said. Hey, how's y'all doing? This is Mr. Blows Your Mind coming with another thought-provoking topic. Today's topic, I don't know, man. I don't know if y'all been in the news or hearing or been reading about or doing any research on it. But we got something out here, man, that sometimes, the Creator, He let things be known, man. That's all I'm going to say, man. That's that the Creator let us, as a black nation, He lets us find out nuggets of truth when people been hiding the truth, who are being revealed for who they truly are, for the demonic, the devilish, the diabolicalness of what an individual or nation of people will do to another nation of people in order to uphold a lie. I mean, it fell out, and a lot of people may not have caught on to it, but this is going to be a twofold or double-edged type of video, because there's two sides to look at this. One, a lot of people heard of the scenario, and I played in the clip in the beginning where a lot of people who may have heard the simple fact that they claimed to be two doctors, and they had somehow contracted Ebola. And then what ended up happening is instead of them being treated in the country that they, caught the virus in, they transported them from one location to another location. Now, for some of you who may not be, older or don't have the recollection of history, because I know a lot of time our people are very short-minded when it comes to remembering things. And so, if you remember going back probably in the 90s when Ebola outbreak happened, and they basically, if you see at the beginning of this clip where it shows on the movie Outbreak, and you see where the soldiers and there's a helicopters coming, and they seem to be coming to be rescued, and what they did, or they was dropping some medicines or maybe provisions for them to survive, they dropped a bomb on them. For those people who've been around to remember, that's how they actually dealt with that situation when it first happened. They actually blew up those people, and never was it spoken again. Okay, I want y'all to know, man, when I'm out here talking like this, you better know I'm talking serious business, and you know that I'm saying things that most people are afraid to say, and it is taboo to be speaking openly. So understand, when I do what I do, you better appreciate what I do and what I put at risk by doing a lot of this. But I do this because it's the Spirit, and this is what the Spirit tells me to do, and I follow that intuitiveness. Okay? So I'm just letting you know that based on what happened that has fell out, a truth fell out. A major truth fell out. And I wanted to recall to the minds of the people who need to hear this call. The sirens is a warning to let you know that the things that have been done or are about to happen, these are not things of coincidence. These are designed and planned. I'm going to say that again. The things that may be happening to start to befall will not be things that will be by, coincidence. These are things that are designed. So what do you mean by this, Mr. BlowsurMind? What I mean is that let's take the scenarios of the movie Outbreak for those who have seen it. This movie was portrayed at a particular time that a particular incident was going to happen based on the so-called transfer of a African monkey that was brought to this country that somehow carried this virus and ended up infecting a human. And based on the interaction between the store pet, the monkey, the store pet owner, and the person who actually swindled the monkey, this is how they said the virus ended up getting into the country. Now, what I want you to understand is, when I say names, I'm not saying these names in order to bring any ostracism towards the family or ridicule against the individual or anything against the ethnicity or nation of these people. But I just want to bring to the fact that I believe that they got their Lee Harvey Oswald. I think they got their John Wilkes Booth. I think they got their James Earl Ray. You understand? I think they got their Judas Iscariot to be able to use Okay? And you probably say, well, what do you mean by that? What I mean is they patsy. They actually have an individual that could be the patsy, that could be the one, instead of you saying that it was something that they did, that it has another face on it. It actually has our face on it. You understand what I mean? It has our face on it. There's a scenario that's been written out to try to offset it a little bit. But, you know, for those people who are thinkers and who try to think things and see through the muck and the mire, through the maze, there was something about this story that was, you know, peculiar, that did not quite match up. And the way that they depicted the story, they tried to offset it, and I understand. But in another thing I want to state too, I'm not making this video to bring scare, but I'm only bringing it to bring awareness. Not to scare, but to bring awareness. And so I'm saying that this Patrick Sawyer, who was a resident in Minnesota, which is in the United States, and the way they're playing this story off as if it's like, well, all his contractions of the virus was there. What the story doesn't tell you, it just tells you that he was in flight to get into Nigeria. He was in his flight into his destination of Nigeria. What they tried to do is they tried to put it off all in West Africa, as if it had no origin here. And this man lived in Minnesota with his family. Again, it was called Coons Rapid. What a hell of a name, right? Coons, right? And so what the story does not depict is it does not tell you when was the last time he was in the United States. I'm going to say that again. The story does not even allude to the fact. It's talking about the arrangements to return, but prior to his returning, when was the last time was he in the United States? Is one question. And to read the story and to say that what somebody is saying does not really validate that is the individual saying it. This can be a cover story. You understand what I mean? This don't necessarily have to be the individual being quoted and saying the things that just, you know. And once I did this reading to find out, you know, in depth more about who they were, these people are in these, you know, kind of administration type people. You know, you feel what I'm saying, for governments and things like that. So it's not like these are just regular Joe people. And so the way that the story was depicted, it kind of made it look like, well, this doctor, this Mr. Brantley, right, and you got Right Ball, which is the white woman, that they just happened to have been people who were taking care of people who had Ebola, and somehow mysteriously they caught it. But they didn't tie in the fact of this Patrick Sawyer. That's who they contracted it from, was Patrick Sawyer. And Patrick Sawyer is a U.S. citizen who travels to and fro. Now, again, what we don't have is we don't have anything that shows his last departing here, arriving here. You feel what I'm saying? They're talking about what he was intending to return back to, based on the simple fact that the story talks about the little girls and their birthday, the family, you know, violin. I'm not saying that this isn't true. I want you to understand. You got to understand the propaganda and how they spin things, because they lied. This is a lie. And they don't want to sound the bells to let us know, because they got to wait and see if anything is going to manifest before they start. And even if it is, they still won't deal with it until it becomes a problem. Feel what I'm saying? And so, by this Brantley coming and getting contracted with it, and then flying him back to Atlanta, many people who are watching this story was like, well, why the hell would you be doing that? Aren't you taking the risk of bringing Ebola into the country, and I be damned if the CDC don't say, right? The CDC says that in all truthness, right? They say in all truthness. Okay, let me show you what it says. I'm gonna put it up on the screen for you so you can read exactly what they said. And I'm gonna read it for you because I think I got it right here. I think it says the plain truth is we can stop Ebola. The plain truth is we can stop Ebola. Now, where? Hello? Hello? Is anybody there? The plain truth is we can stop Ebola. Now, you may say, well, okay, the proof is that they had this serum that they gave this Dr. Brantley in this white ball. The serum. Go back to the movie of Outbreak. Wasn't it that when Dustin Hoffman's wife, I forgot what her name is, when she contracted it and she became so ill and sick that Dustin Hoffman went to Morgan Freeman and he was telling, you know, that his wife in the grave condition she was in, and what ended up happening, Morgan Freeman goes into the closet, goes in, comes out with the vial and gives it to Dustin Hoffman. Now, what are you saying, Mr. Blowsurmind? Are you trying to say that Ebola was created in a laboratory by some people to put it on other people? You goddamn right. That's what I'm saying. You goddamn right. For y'all who didn't catch it, a truth fell out, y'all. You mean to tell me that you got the cure for Ebola and the people over there that got Ebola, you letting them die off? Well, we know why we letting them die off, don't we? For a lot of us who call us, people who look at us and talk about what we're conspiracy theorists and that we believe in, this right here shows you that if you understood, and there are publications you could read, and I done did my research on a lot of this stuff, that you have these bases that sit here, and that's what they do. And they do experiments, and they release stuff. There was a time, one time they used to infect the mosquitoes and let them out in particular areas, and then sit back and allow the reports from the doctor so they know what they released out, what it did to people. But this is major because now the numbers are starting to rise up in Africa. You got Sierra Leone, you got Liberia, right? You got Nigeria now. You got and this is all West Coast. This is the west side of Africa, where they say it is our ancestors who come from the West Coast. I'm going to say that again. When they talk about American blacks in this country, what side of Africa do they call us to be from? These are our ancestors who are over here being given Ebola. Somehow Ebola is now erupting again. But a truth fell out. And then the CDC says the plain truth is we can stop Ebola, meaning we already had the cure. So if you got the cure and somebody got the disease, then who's using the disease? Because you remember when you go back to AIDS and they tell you the historical nonsense that they came up with when they tell you, they said that it was a green monkey disease, right? That an African was sleeping with a monkey, right? Now, I just seen the other day where a brother, and I'm pretty sure this was a white cat that put this video up there, where an older brother, about 52 years old, police come and had to arrest him because he had sex with 4 pigs. Now, I'm saying this because a lot of times we attributed all this bestiality to white folks, and what's happening now that the minds of black folks are becoming so damn sick that we're becoming like the one that we've been actually imitating now. We're starting to fully become those people. And so to say the green monkey theory that an African slept with a monkey, you know, that's kind of joke worthy to us here. We couldn't conceive that somebody would actually sleep with a monkey. But this is the historical aspect of how they're telling you how AIDS came into being. But I can read, and I have read, I can read, I can read it out to you, that there was a particular person who came here and got a grant to go through the American cities and to infect, and this is in the 70s. This is in the 70s. And it was affect the black, the gays, and then when the 80s rolled around, we had the epidemic. Okay? Then, as time goes on, we start saying they're coming out with drugs, right, in order to subside it, and they come with AZT and all this other stuff. And then we have magic as the poster child for it. And magic seems to be cured. Magically, he's cured, right? So either he never had it because it was never transferred to his son Fabulous or his wife Cookie, right? So I'm saying this Ebola, this outbreak, has the potential, with the scare tactic involved in it when people hear it and the death and the carnage that can happen, is the alarm for us to realize that a lot of people who say they would never take the chip or you won't take the vaccination, well, here is your initiative. If you don't, you'll get Ebola. Because we have to cure it, but if you don't come and take it, we can't cure you. And if we can't cure you, you're going to get it and you're going to die. But in the vaccination, I can also drop in the chip on you and all kind of other stuff on you. And the same time I'm giving you this. This could be the catalyst to be the match that lits the wick to get it in fruition. I'm going to say it again. This could be the catalyst to light the wick, to get it started on the things that, again, let's see how this all falling in place. You done had the Obamacare, where it was not as a big turnout as they liked it to be, and there's a lot of people who did not sign up for it. So now that you come with a big scare of death, that you can die if you don't take the vaccination, many people will be willing now to go sign up so that they can now get the shot so that they won't die. And in that vaccination, you can get this other program that they've been trying to get you to get into in the first damn place. You feel what I'm saying? So, it's funny, right? It's really funny when you look at it. It's like, man, you can't put nothing past these people because they will take it and do what they got to do. Okay? So, I just wanted to bring this out as a little short video, as a warning. I don't think a lot of people looked at it. And I just want you to know, man, that stuff is already here. It just haven't manifested yet. You mean to tell me somebody who's been going to and fro, back and forth, and that some odd reason now, as of lately, he just now contracted it and is now showing, but we don't have any point of destination prior to when he left here. You're talking about Sierra Leone, and you're talking about Liberia, and you're talking about Nigeria, but you ain't talking about his last departure from this country. And matter of fact, he was in the heartland, which is in the Midwest, and if he's in the Midwest and he isn't going through Chicago and so forth, we don't know how many people he done came in contact with. They said he was through an event that had 30,000 people in it, right? You in the airport, how many people can you come in contact with? So this story is to be continued, but I wanted to sound the alarm, y'all, that the match of the wick has been lit. This is Mr. Blows Your Mind, coming with another thought-provoking topic. I'm going to let Mr. Neely Fuller end this off.
It could be that white people are absolutely useless, except, like Elijah Muhammad says, to cause problems. They are a permanent disease. Okay? There ain't no good in them at all. You can never squeeze none out of them. Elijah Muhammad made that clear. I used to hear him talk directly. saying that. That might be true. But codification is designed to find out whether it is true or not. That's what it's supposed to be designed. And if we find out that's true, then that's going to be the bottom line anyway. Either they're going to kill all of us or we're going to kill all of them. They ain't going to even have a problem.
Or you see, they may die out. They may, you see, in other words, if people of color understand what white supremacy is, and the real antidote for white supremacy is to have the global majority not behaving in such a way that allows it to continue. I mean, white supremacy takes the non-white people being in a continuing state of primitive, pitiful, stupid, and silly. You see that if we came out of that, so that the non-white people were behaving in a codified, understand white supremacy, a part of that codification is non-white people do not have sexual relations. That's a part of the justice codification. You see, so
well, that's what I meant by codification would find that out.
Yeah, okay.
But if they are still functioning on the planet with black people, I mean, still at their peak of doing everything like it ought to be done, and white people are still mingling among us, or even anywhere on the planet. If they are, in essence, evil people, we're going to lose everything that we have built up. I wouldn't care how you build it up. They're coming after you. All right? And they'll put a hurting on you just like they did in the first place. See, if they're here, either they are pure evil or they're not. That's what you got to come to that. We've got to come to that conclusion. Now, who's willing to go that far? A white person, by being white, is pure evil, okay? Or not. It's either or. There ain't no splitting the difference. Now, if they are pure evil, that means they cannot stay on